German shepherd trapped in rising floodwater. What rescuers uncovered left the world crying. The river had broken its banks, swallowing streets and twisting cars like toys. Sirens wailed in the distance, but here, in the drowned silence, only one sound pierced through: the frantic barking of a dog fighting the current. Clinging to a half-submerged log, a German shepherd thrashed against the surge, his paws bleeding as he tried to claw at the slick concrete of a broken wall. Water slammed over him, dragging him under, then spitting him out again, weaker each time. His eyes, wide and desperate, searched the shore as if begging for someone, anyone, to notice before the river claimed him forever. And then, amid the chaos, rescuers spotted something else near him. Something glinting beneath the swirling water that didn't belong there. If this moment already broke your heart, pause and please tell us where you are watching from, because what comes next will stay with you forever. Rescue teams had been working for hours, pulling families from rooftops, guiding children through waist-high currents. Exhaustion weighed on every movement. Yet when the shepherd's cries reached them, they stopped cold. One of the men, Officer Ramirez, froze mid-step. His late partner's dog had been a German shepherd, too. The sound tore through him like memory revived. The animal's struggle was brutal. His ribs pressed against drenched fur, his claws shredded by stone, but still he fought. Every surge dragged him further, yet he refused to release the log, as though something more than survival anchored him there. Ramirez waded closer, water surging at his chest. That's when he noticed, tied loosely around the dog's neck was a rope, frayed and cut, as if he had broken free from somewhere upstream. The implication was grim. He hadn't just drifted here, he had escaped. The shepherd barked weakly, his muzzle barely above water, but then his body jolted sideways. Caught against debris, he was pinned, his head dangerously low. Ramirez lunged forward, the current smashing against him, and grabbed the rope. The dog's eyes locked with his, terrified, pleading, yet determined. But then Ramirez felt it. Something tugged beneath the water, harder than the current. He looked down. The log the shepherd clung to wasn't just debris. Wedged against it was a black case, strapped shut, heavy enough to drag both man and dog under if released. Ramirez shouted for backup, his voice nearly drowned by the storm. Another rescuer, Marta, fought her way toward him with a rope, her eyes wide at the sight. Together they tried to hoist the shepherd free, but the case refused to budge. The more they pulled, the more the current fought back. The shepherd yelped, water surging over his head. His paws thrashed, bubbles rising in panic. Ramirez tightened his grip, teeth clenched. "Don't you dare give up," he muttered. But his arms burned, muscles failing. Then Marta saw it. Etched into the side of the case, half hidden by silt, were letters. Not random scratches, but clear military markings. Her heart dropped. Ramirez. This isn't just debris. It was hidden. Here. Lightning cracked overhead, blinding for a moment. In that flash, Ramirez realized the truth. Someone hadn't just abandoned this dog. They had tied him to guard something. The shepherd let out one last bark before collapsing limp against his arm. Ramirez's chest tightened. He had seconds to decide, save the case or save the life in his hands. And as the flood raged around them, the choice he made would uncover a truth none of them were prepared for. The storm howled, but Ramirez's focus narrowed on the weight beneath the water. With Marta bracing the rope, he plunged his hand deeper, fingers scraping the case. The military markings were clearer now. Numbers, a unit emblem, and a date long past. This wasn't just cargo swept away by chance. It had been placed, hidden, the eye. Shepherd whimpered, his body slumping heavier against Ramirez's arm. With one desperate tug, Ramirez managed to wedge the case free from the log. It bobbed up briefly, chained still to the rope around the dog's neck. Whoever left it here hadn't meant for the dog to escape. Marta's eyes widened. It's not just about the flood. Someone tied him as a guard. The implication chilled Ramirez. This dog wasn't abandoned by accident. He was left to drown, sacrificed for something inside the case, and now Ramirez realized whoever had done this might still be nearby, watching. Saving the shepherd meant exposing a secret that someone had tried to bury beneath the rising waters. The water surged, again smashing Ramirez against the wall. He clutched the shepherd tighter, forcing air into his lungs with every rise above the current. Marta threw the rope across, looping it around both man and dog. Together they heaved, muscles straining, as the current roared like a beast determined to drag them under. The case banged violently against Ramirez's leg, threatening to pull them all down. With a roar of effort, he unhooked the rope from the case, letting it sink back into the flood. In that instant, the shepherd's body floated lighter, his muzzle breaching the surface again. "Pull!" Marta screamed. The team on shore heaved, dragging them inch by inch out of the torrent. Ramirez's chest burned, lungs screaming for air, but he refused to release the trembling life in his arms. Finally, hands grabbed him, yanking them onto the embankment. Ramirez collapsed onto the muddy ground, the shepherd limp across his chest. For a terrifying moment, there was no movement, no sound. Then, a faint cough, water spilling from the dog's throat, followed by the weakest of whines. The rescuers cheered, but Ramirez only felt the weight of what he had left behind. The case, sinking, carrying secrets he could never unsee. The dog had been saved, but the mystery had only just begun. The shepherd lay on a stainless table wrapped in warm towels, while machines hummed softly around him. Oxygen hissed through a small mask over his muzzle, his chest rising shallow but steady. An IV dripped into his paw, each droplet a fragile promise of life. Ramirez stood close, soaked and shivering, his hand resting on the dog's head. He whispered, "You weren't meant to survive, were you? But you fought anyway." The vet checked the monitors, nodding grimly. "He's not out of danger yet, but his will, it's remarkable." The shepherd's eyes flickered open, finding Ramirez. For a second, the storm outside felt far away. Loyalty, silent and unspoken, passed between man and dog. Morning sunlight pierced through the storm clouds, casting a fragile calm over the flood-torn city. Inside the clinic, the shepherd stirred beneath blankets, his breathing steadier now. Ramirez had not slept, his uniform still damp, but when the dog lifted his head weakly and nudged his hand, relief swept through him like a tide breaking. The vet smiled faintly. "He'll carry scars, but he's alive. That alone is a miracle." Ramirez stroked the shepherd's fur, the memory of the sinking case heavy in his chest. He couldn't shake the image of its markings, military, deliberate, and hidden. This pup had been chained to it, as if guarding a truth that someone had wanted swallowed by the river. Yet, looking into the dog's tired eyes, Ramirez understood what mattered most. Against betrayal, against drowning, against death itself, this animal had chosen to fight. His survival was more than chance. It was defiance. Still, questions lingered. Who had tied him there? What was inside that case? For now, the shepherd's heartbeat was answer enough. The storm had tried to silence him, but loyalty and courage had survived. The floodwaters slowly receded, leaving behind ruins, questions, and one fragile survivor. Ramirez carried the shepherd outside, where sunlight glimmered on wet streets. The dog leaned against him, his body weak but alive, a symbol of resilience against cruelty. Some mysteries may never be fully answered, but one truth remained unshaken. Loyalty like this cannot be drowned. If you had found this box in the rising flood, would you have stopped or walked away? Tell us below. And don't forget to share this story, because loyalty like this must be remembered.